Hi, I'm Kevin Hill, and today we're going to do a beautiful seascape painting, and we're going to focus a lot on the cliffs and the landscape part of it though, and it should be fun. And if you're enjoying these and you'd like to see more, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more painting videos. Alright, let's get started. We'll start off today here with our 1-inch brush and some blue and white, and I've already coated the top here, the sky area, with a little bit of clear gel and white just to get it ready to go. And you can see I did a pretty detailed sketch, kinda. And it just helps to kind of outline where we're going because there's a lot of bits and pieces in this painting. The other thing I did that I don't normally do is I went ahead and sketched in the clouds just because I was sketching and I kind of just did it. No other reason. So there you go. May or may not really matter. I can't really remember the last time I did this, so it'd be kind of fun to see what it does, but maybe we'll just leave the clouds open today just for fun. I don't know. There we go. Wipe off that brush. I'm going to get a lot of white. Well, not a lot, just a little bit of white, but not much else in the brush. And then we can just blend these together. So you want it, of course, lighter at the bottom and nice and dark at the top. Now I'm going to go ahead and just place on some highlight. I very quickly did some shadow, and then here's the important part, then I wiped it with a paper towel. That's really important. There, now I'm just dropping, that's the reason why I can drop this on so easily. It's not because it's just easier for me, it's because I wipe the canvas off so that this paint will stick, so that it's not going over, 3 inches of thick, sloppy paint. And that makes all the difference, it really does. So if you're struggling to get, when you get mud or something on the canvas, especially, let's face it, especially when you paint clouds, try wiping the canvas off, it makes a big difference. There, see that? You can kind of push a little harder. You get these little bits. Yeah, that's your professional art term for those little bits. And if you get a lot of those, it starts to look pretty good. Little shadows and stuff. Cool. So the nice part is you don't have to overdo it. You really don't. Just a little. I am warming that color up. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, with a little red. And that, I think, just makes it look prettier for a little seascape painting. Well, seascape with a lot of landscape. It's kind of cool. It's kind of, you get to focus a lot on the land, but there's still an ocean, and I like that. I think that's interesting. It's a little different. I mean, we've done other stuff like this before, but it's been a long time. Now we're going to go ahead and load up with a very soft, kind of a grayish color. It does have a little blue, which is good, because it's going right back here in the distance. Yeah, there we go. And that's even a touch dark. I don't know. I like the idea of giving it a little more distance. And of course, the lighter and the more blue a color is, the further away it goes. There you go. That looks pretty decent. We may want to give it a little lighter section here, almost like there's some mist floating at the bottom. Cool. And we can certainly have some blurry edges along the top, so just stroke it like that. Very good. All right, so that's kind of the background mountain thingy number 1. What's great is we don't have to worry about a horizon. Sometimes we'll tape off our horizons when we do a seascape, but we don't have to worry about it on this one. All right, now we're going to take let's take some brown, black, and let's get a little green going. I think a lot of green in this painting would be good. Oh yeah, that's a good color for starters. See, it's very gray still, but it's got a little color, coming forward here. That's good. And of course, if you need oil paint or anything else, we've got a lot of stuff available on the website, just the stuff here that I use. So you can, make sure that it's not the oil paint. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you're first starting, like, I don't know if it's me or the paint. Well, at least just if you use the stuff that I use, then you'll know at least it's not the materials, and you can focus on the technique, which is really important. I mean, your time is valuable, right? That's probably the most expensive part of this is your time. There. So you want to maximize. You don't want to sit around frustrated because you have the wrong materials. That's all I'm trying to say. Cool. Let's just keep blocking this in. I keep changing my color slightly each time I reload. Just doing little different things. I put a red in there because there's green. You can get away with that, but I wouldn't want to show any actual red up in this mountain. I'm just kind of changing it, eating up some of that blue and green in there. Warming it up just a touch. It is a little bit warm. There. Next, we're going to go ahead and drop in the closest little mountain up here. And I changed to a little filbert brush because we're going to be doing a lot of scrubbing, and this actually helps to smush that paint into the canvas just a little better than a 3/4 brush does, because of course the 3/4 brush is quite a bit softer. We used it in the background a lot. I don't know why, we just did. You know, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference for something like this, because you can always wipe it with a paper towel if it seems to get kind of messy. All right, let's see, we want to bring this out. I'm kind of looking at my sketch here. It's kind of, you know, I don't follow it exactly, but yeah, there's something. Then you can fill in right here. Just make sure everything's kind of filled in with color. That's the main thing. There, I'm just finishing up, doing a little bit of sand. In fact, I'm gonna bring that sand a little further than maybe I want it, so that we have a chance to kind of bring the ocean back over it. How's that? Yeah, that works. And then, of course, this isn't finished. This is kind of just the color, and then we're gonna add a little extra shadows and more of the reflection of probably the rocks and water there in the wet sand, but this is at least a good start. Okay, now let's grab a little bit of a blue color. Right there's good. A little blue and black and white. That's probably all that's in that. Let's go ahead and actually start back here. It's a little deeper back here, a little darker. There, and then as it comes up toward the shoreline, it'll get just a little lighter. And of course, we still have the old rule, but I couldn't find my white. I put my white over here when I squirted out some more, just to confuse myself, I guess. And of course, we have the old rule where it gets lighter toward the horizon that we gotta worry about too. There we are. Right up to that horizon. The reason I'm not doing this all in 5 seconds with a bigger brush is because I'd like to build in little variations kind of as we go. You know, I don't want to just go one solid color on this, because then I think it would just make it more difficult later. I'm thinking about just adding these little variations in already. To make this look far away, you've got to have small strokes. You can't have big strokes here. Let's go a little lighter then toward the shore, a little more blue and white. Any mud that sneaks in here is okay. There we are, because this is not at all the finished product. We still got highlights and stuff to stick on. But building a little depth in the underpainting never hurt anything, right? You know me, I'm a big fan of that. If we can build a little depth in that underpainting, I'm gonna do it. There. How's that for a shadow color, that light blue? You know what that means? We get to put some really bright color on top. Oh yeah. And so you can kind of drag these two together. So anyway, that's kind of how we'll go. We'll paint around the, I got a little bit of a crashing wave here. We'll sort of paint around that. Now that the canvas is really covered, we can kind of step back and just decide where we want to go. We can work on the ocean or the land. I vote for the land, just, well, I don't know, no real reason, just because I want to. So let's go ahead and just grab a nice light color, something like this. And a seascape, you can kind of bounce around a little more than a landscape. A landscape, you pretty much want to go from the back to the front. Not quite as important here. On the cliff section, we will be going from the back to the front. But the seascape, for instance, you could work in the front and then jump to the back. It's just not, it just doesn't matter that much. Okay, enough of that. Let's get back here and actually paint. There's very little on here, so it doesn't take a whole lot of paint to cover. I'm using a nice soft detail round, and maybe we'll go a little brighter than that. Yeah, there we go. Maybe I'll start up here too. That looks good. And I'm just gonna place on these little highlights. This is a little bit of a slow process, but hey, what are you gonna do? It's better than getting in here and getting it all done fast with a larger brush and then having absolutely no detail. This is a large section of the painting, and you can't discount it, unfortunately. You just gotta do it. If you kind of gloss over this area, could be kind of sad. Might not look so good, so spend the extra 3 or 4 minutes and do it really nice. Get all these little bushes in. It's kind of fun anyway, kind of relaxing. It's always a bonus when your paintings have a mixture of broad areas and then little tight detail areas. It's kind of cool. All right, make sure that you're forming the land. See how you kind of form out that land area? What's nice about this color is it works great as an underpainting. Just leave it there. You don't need to add any special shadows to these trees for the most part. Cool. And up here, just get a slightly darker color. Let me just show you this really quick. Slightly darker color. And we're going to add in just an indication of a palm tree up here. Not much. See how that doesn't look like a palm tree until we go put the other ones in the foreground. You'll be, oh, that's definitely a palm tree. But you know what I mean? Right now it doesn't really look like one. And that's kind of the way painting is, isn't it? A lot of this stuff is just random, and then your brain will kind of figure it out once the whole thing comes together. There we go. So don't drive yourself nuts trying to paint little itty bitty palm trees back here. Now, as you can see, I threw in a little bit of mid-tone here. We already had the dark for the rocks, but now we've got our mid-tone in. And so let me take a little bit of our just light color at this point. It doesn't really matter too much. And we're going to go ahead and see if we can just set off a couple of these with highlight. I think that'd be really pretty as I paint my hand. There, that looks good. See that? You just touch it. Now I went ahead and did the midtones with a filbert brush. The 3/4 flat would have been nice too. Oh yeah, but I'm going to do this, of course, with our detail round brush, what it was designed to do. Layer paint softly toward the end. Oh yeah, it looks good. Maybe a little more yellow. I kind of like yellow. It gives it a warmth that I think is nice. So anyway, we'll kind of work on this. You just shape each little rock with its own highlight. Create a bunch of details, and then see that? And then maybe just flip that brush around and watch this. You just kind of slide it right down the face of the rock. Cool. And maybe that's a little harsh, you can just take it and touch it and blend it back. Make it a little smoother. That looks good, doesn't it? All right, so you got a lot of options when you play around with this. You can even do some purple ones to kind of indicate a shadow, or some blue ones. We might do that. It'll just be done the same way. There we go. A little bit on these little guys. Don't want to forget about them. In fact, they're really out in the light because the light's kind of coming across like this today. So they get a lot of light. Maybe in here, kind of build this area up some more. There, oh yeah, I like that. See, things are always subject to change around here. And maybe down in this one, sparkle that one up with a little light on top. And that one, see that? You just play around with it, have fun. You can always take your dark brush and sort of mush them in if you overdo it, which we may end up doing by the time we're done here. Nice. You want a good balance between light and dark, so kind of watch for that. There, now I'm just finishing up here, kind of wiping this little wave area down, just to remove that loose oil paint sitting on top. Not a whole lot, but you know, that'll help. Just make us extra safe. All right, now, right up in here, I've got my little detail brush with a nice light turquoise color. Wow, look at that, you see that? It goes on so clean. And so nice. There, that looks good. And it does that, of course, because we took that extra second and wiped this area down. Put a little bit of that right in here. It's a small wave, but we'll paint it sort of like it's a big wave. That looks pretty good. And I might change just to a color that's slightly more blue. We've got a lot of blues going today. Right in there looks pretty decent. And I'll use this to create kind of a secondary color before we blend. That looks really nice. And of course, well, not of course, but here's what I'm planning to do. I'm going to take my little blender brush and I'm just going to go in circles. There we go. Nice. Yeah, see how that makes that look soft? Very, very pretty. Oh yeah. Then we'll put our darks back in. See, we kind of lost some of that, but look at the glow that we have now. Now I'm going to go ahead and highlight our wave here. And it's a lot like a cloud. I often think about these little guys as clouds when I paint the foam part, because it really feels the same when you're doing it. I like that. See how you do, but here's the thing with the waves, is you want to kind of think about little spot highlights. You don't want to just come along and highlight the whole wave, because you know, little areas would be in shadow. When you go along and you do the whole wave, then it looks kind of weird. There we go. So I generally skip this area right there. cool. Kind of just let that drift away. If you get a little too much, you can blend it down. You know, it gives you a little light down in the bottom here, which is probably a good thing anyway. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump back to the landscape part of this painting and drop in our little palm trees. They're a little closer. They're on this cliff area. So we'll just drop them in the same way. Maybe just a slightly more, you know, carefully is all. And I'll just drop in 2 or 3. Well, okay, a little more than 2 or 3. Just a few. And what this is really going to do is help to show the detail. You can kind of very carefully wipe this area off. I wouldn't do too much. I think I would just put the paint on a little thicker. If you have any trouble, it looks like it's okay for me. Some of these are not perfect. Some of them are kind of rough. That's fine. We're still just working on the indication of palm trees. All right, now as you can see, I took just a second to draw in some palm tree limbs, or some palm fronds, I believe is the correct term. All right, let's go ahead and just grab a nice brown color, and then I'm going to sweep one side through the yellow ochre. So I've got kind of a, you know, I would call it kind of like a double load, but it's not, I'm not being real picky about it, if you know what I mean. There. I don't think we spent more than 3 seconds in that little background. That's now simply not important. People aren't going to look at it, they won't even notice it. All right, so that's pretty much all there is to it. Make sure they're radiating out from a central point. My point is right here where my finger is. Hopefully you can see that. Now really one of the last things that we're gonna do up here today is drop in some grass. And of course, I'm using my favorite grass technique. Just grab a fan brush, load it up, and slam it down. It's that easy. It's really almost too easy. It's maybe not complicated enough, I don't know. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. If you're ever doing demos for people or whatever, you know, some situation where somebody's watching you, try this. People love it. It is so fun to do. And let me tell you, it's just easy. It's as easy as it looks, or easier. It's fun though. You'll enjoy it. So one of my favorites, and the grass that you get from it is just wonderful. You got to make sure you use a nice thin fan brush. My fan brush is pretty thin. You tilt it all the way up, and you pretty much just use the front half of the brush. So that you cut your brush right in half. All right, well, I think we're done. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Don't forget to check out our website, DVDs, and brush line. Thanks for watching.